Dozens of books by authors of colors have been pulled off the shelves in small towns across the country for, quote, teaching critical race theory, even though naturally none of them have anything to do with this law school level concept. Many of them are children's books that just happen to incidentally mention the existence of racism, or don't even do that, but have non-white characters. Much of this spurred last fall when a Texas representative released a list of about 850 books that he claimed, quote, make students feel discomfort. For the most part, these are books that simply include non-white or non-straight characters. This at the same time that Mouse, a book about the horrors of the Holocaust, was removed from the curriculum in a Tennessee county due to bad language. It will probably be replaced with a more light-hearted book about the Holocaust, one that doesn't feature actual stories from the time, such as The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. I editorialized a little bit there.
Yeah, no, I get you. I get you. Might as well be like the real news instead of the fake news, right? Editorialize.
Yeah. Hey, we are not journalists and we have no obligation whatsoever. So
no, I saw something on the news about people burning some books, and I did joke to myself about it yesterday, not joking about this. I mean, I think this is absolutely terrible, but I'm in Target and the town I live in, Medford, or at least I live outside of Medford, Oregon, is very white.
Yeah.
The population is very white. And in there, they have like this whole section for like Black history. And one said like something to the effect of like noir goddess, like I'm a Black goddess.
Right.
And like I was looking at it going like, you'd think they would have maybe not shipped that shirt here. They would have shipped like noir goddess ally shirts here, and so you think they maybe would have distributed their wares a little bit better, but yeah, I'm starting to think that there is a massive white power cabal in this country that because I always thought it was just like sort of like hidden guilt and like I don't want to be like and quit. But now I think it might be card carrying, because who's that Florida dude? They straight up asked him about Nazis after he talked about one of them.
I'm not sure. Are you talking about Ron DeSantis?
Yeah. They straight else? And he never said the word. He said, we're not even talking about blah, blah. None of them actually say the words Nazis are bad. And it's like, how hard is it to say Nazis are bad? Just say it. I just want to hear some people say Nazis are bad. When people say, what do you think of Nazis? Go, Nazis are bad. Next question. Obviously that covers it. It's
it was like the Charlottesville thing a bunch of years ago, like asking the president to condemn like a bunch of neo-Nazis shouting about Jews and stuff.
Yeah.
It's kind of a slam dunk, but instead he went, they're probably nice guys. I don't want to alienate nobody.
People on both sides.
Yeah, it is like,
no, I
sorry.
See, at the time I was thinking it meant like both sides, like some of them were his base with legitimate arguments. And I thought, okay, maybe there are some nice people over there. And then no, I think there's some sort of card carrying conspiracy. And I think, I don't know, probably not. Probably.
Well,
what do you think?
That is what people of color have been saying about like rural America forever. So,
how can you be so concerned about hating a person that in a lot of these cases you never see? I mean, I live in a very white area. I mean, I couldn't hate Black people. I haven't known enough in my life to hate them.
Honestly, same. Like, that's kind of sad how white all my circles are. But like, I think a lot of this is just like, we don't want to hear anything that makes us feel white guilt. I think there is definitely a strain of that. Yeah. But that in itself is definitely like hugely racist. Like,
but there are a lot of people out there who are identifying with Christopher Columbus and Jefferson Davis as like a fellow white dude. I don't have, basically you can be in my family, no offense if my family's listening, but if you're outside of like my parents, maybe my grandparents, we pretty much cut it off there. I kind of view you as like, yeah, sure, we're related, but I'm not connected to that person's decisions in any way.
Yeah.
I don't feel responsible for the genetic. uh Hell, I don't even feel it for my kids. I got three. One of them's bound to mess up. One's bound to be worse.
Interesting. I think you had the audience, and then they were like, okay.
But yeah, do these people really feel the connection? Like if it's a black person is talking to you and they say, yeah, well, white people held black people as slaves. I'm like, oh, holy crap, I'm white. I did this. It's like,
I
what's
don't
the
know.
problem with, it's weird.
Yeah, I think a lot of these things that were banned were also, like I said, incidentally mentioning the existence of racism today, which is a huge no-no on the right.
I see.
Basically, like
So
I have
saying
actually
that we live in a non-racist world today.
Yes, I've talked to Republicans, in fact, Republicans who we both know, who have been like, there is no racism in this country. Black people don't have it any harder. Which I those exact words in that order I have heard, and I was just like flabbergasted. I'm like, what reality do you live in to even remotely believe that? It makes no sense.
Well, the reality
But
they live in is a world that is just black and white.
yeah.
Because look at the left. The left is a world who the reason why they're fighting this is because there's the left who is portraying this message, at least the stuff that's being shared with them. I'm not saying everybody on the left, that America is terrible. America sucks. Sure. Nothing's gotten better for anybody. Black people don't have it better than they did 100 years ago. And, some crazy messaging where it's just so black and white. And you're all like, we totally sucked. Now we kind of suck. And tomorrow we're hoping to suck a little bit less, or America was great in the beginning. Then we got greater. And tomorrow we hope to be even better. That's the same statement each time. Just, I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like...
Sorry, I didn't mean to ramble.
Here's my thinking on that, which is that it is obvious that we have gotten better. And any criticism of like racism today should not have to come with a disclaimer to spare white people's feelings that, yes, it is, at least we don't have slaves anymore.
Right. Yeah. What kind of argument is that?
I think if you're if you hear someone talking about racism and your thinking is like, this makes me uncomfortable, this makes me feel bad, it's like, maybe it does, but that's a sign that you need to get over yourself. And people don't want to hear that.
I find the best way out of those conversations is, yeah, that's terrible that those people did that.
Right.
And I mean it, makes it easy. I'm not even lying. It is terrible that those people did that.
Right. So it's like, I don't know.
I think people got really confused when they started bringing up how life today is holding up old racist institutions that we don't even necessarily know that we're contributing to.
Exactly.
And I think that's where people really kind of started to get confused. I get confused on that. But then I finally decided, there was a time that I was like back and forth. And I'm like, what do I do? This is stupid. I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out. And finally I decided, well, if I go through my life just being a nice person, I think I'll probably do more good than damage. So I'm going to keep doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
When it comes to the micro stuff, don't get me wrong. When it comes to the big stuff, it's easy to find a footing to fight from.
Sure.
A lot of the little stuff, it's hard to find a footing to even fight from.
Right. Yeah. And I think a lot of it is, I don't know. It's a difficult thing to talk about because it is much more complicated. I think now than like in the 60s, you could say, hey, we really can't vote, right? Because if we go to the polls, Klan members will shoot us.
Right.
That's a real easy thing to wrap your head around.
Exactly. Yeah.
Versus
an easy
something
thing to find to fight. There's the obvious enemy.
Right. Versus something like these districts are poor because because of racism, but the racism happened, 100 years ago, but no one has bothered to update and like no one has bothered to make any reparations for this. No one has bothered to fix any of the infrastructure that's broken. It's over policed because there's lots of kids who had lead poisoning who committed crimes. That, and then that kind of thing is like, okay, but who are the Klan members in this scenario, right? Who is the obvious culprit who is clearly committing bad acts against Black people because they hate Black people? Like, that's harder to find in these latter examples. It's more just like uncaring guys who don't really want to fix the problem because it costs money that they would prefer to spend on white people.
All day.
Yeah, exactly.
Uncaring guys who don't want to fix the problem because it costs money.
Right. And it's harder to get riled up about that. And, you get into the nitty gritty, and right-wing outlets have, on any issue you care to mention, have really just flooded the narrative with, hundreds and hundreds of arguments, most of which are just random and disingenuous and don't make any sense. And it's just like, it's hard to pick through it. It's hard to debunk all of them. It's hard to wrap your head around it. So it's, I've heard people talking about, well, Black people getting shot isn't that big a deal because the police mostly don't shoot people. It's like great logic there.
Right. How is that? I think I have a test to find out if our world is racist. People say our world isn't racist or our world's super racist. I got a test. And it's easy. It's something we should have done from the beginning, but it'll definitely work now. Squares.
Okay, I'm excited. Squares. Okay.
Take all the gerrymandering, all the districts, everything. Use squares. I'm sick of all these crazy angled lines and the addresses and all this gerrymandering and stuff like that. We just cut to squares. If it moves back to being hella racist, we know we got a problem. But if it just evens out and everything gets better, well, then we know that we weren't in a racist world. Or realistically, it'll do something in between and everything will get better. Squares, man. We need squares.
I mean, God, I have never met a pro gerrymandering voter.
Really?
I've never met, because look, gerrymandering is something, both sides do it, but it is, and this is accurate, that it is mostly restricted to the right now. Like, many states on the left, most blue states at this point have passed anti-gerrymandering measures, like California, like Oregon, like Washington, and they do have basically grids. The egregious gerrymandering you see is basically this in the South to keep, red states from turning purple or straight up blue. Like, if Georgia had a grid, it would vote Democratic every single election.
Right. Well,
but
I mean,
I've never met a Republican voter who's like, yeah, I'm pro that. It's just the politicians, and it's like, man, you gotta stop.
While we're on the topic of race, what's your take on this Joe Rogan?
I mean, I don't really know anything about him. I've basically heard that he's kind of an Alex Jonesy wacko, but
yeah, well, he's basically kind of he's definitely not like Alex Jones. He's a once stand-up comedian that is way into and maybe did MMA for a while. And he basically has a talk show where he'll talk to people for like 4 hours and, kind of like Art Bell, only he'll have people on like Sanjay Gupta and stuff like that. I don't particularly like his show, but I don't know. They're playing a big loop of him using the N-word, but in the entire loop, he's using it in a story context every time they have him say it. So I was just kind of curious what your take was on him there.
Look, the only stuff I know about Joe Rogan is just like vague hearsay because I've never listened to him or just cared to sort of engage with his whole thing. So
yeah, I have pretty similar feelings.
What I understand is that he's had a bunch of like basically straight up fascists on the show. That he's had, parroted some pretty screwed up right-wing talking points. So, I don't love him because of that. I've just again, vaguely heard these things from people I trusted, but not bothered to look into any of it
Yeah,
because
that's
there are
accurate.
a million guys like Joe
That's
Rogan,
probably
you know?
accurate. Yeah.
Is you don't gotta go out and like debunk each one and figure out where you stand on Joe Rogan. Like I
Yeah.
don't listen to a show. It doesn't matter where I stand.